Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
My name's the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks. We're two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, or at least for the second time in a week, I guess.
I mean, I'm always with you in your heart.
Yes, right. Wherever I go, you're right there. You know, we could use a day off from one another every so often.
Yeah, I was supposed to today.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
doesn't rain all summer. The one day I'm supposed to go to the fun mom's group horseback riding lesson, we have a severe thunderstorm watch.
That's right. You just learned a lot about my wife, Mary, who's back again for the second episode. Third time on the podcast, maybe?
Maybe fourth. Yeah, because we did Disney movies with Frank.
That's right. We did 2 of those episodes.
No, we did 1. And then we hit the 40s and we're like, nah.
These movies are boring.
This is an animated travel film about Peru.
Yeah, those movies were no good. We could finish talking about those. Maybe we'll come back to it if we have time. But Mary,
we're still awake.
Yeah, what are you?
My brain is still functioning by 8:30.
What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking an ice cold, refreshing polar watermelon lemonade sparkling seltzer with essence of fresh lemon.
Well, that sounds beautiful.
It's a seltzerade.
A seltzerade. That's great. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, pretty good.
That's
refreshing.
Great. That's good. I am drinking a Stony Creek Brewery Save the Sound light lager. I got this when we went to Mystic for vacation.
Oh, cool. Oh, look, it's got a heron on it. That's really pretty.
Yes, everything in the can, and by the can I mean the beer, but all the proceeds go to the Save the Sound conservation effort.
Nice.
So I'm saving the environment by drinking this beer, probably.
Is that for the Long Island Sound, I would assume?
Yes, the Long Island Sound, yeah. So, and you know what? The Long Island Sound is beautiful and needs protection, I always say.
It does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of birds living in the Long Island Sound, but that's a story for another time.
Indeed. Mary, we're here to talk about something that is very near and dear to your heart, more than mine, though I love it. Don't misconstrue. But arguably your favorite show of all time, maybe, is Boy Meets World, the beloved 90s sitcom.
Where's Boy Meets World?
Is it actually do you think it's favorite show?
I don't know. I feel like it's in my top 5
all
time, of all genres,
sure.
I would say. Because it's my favorite sitcom, I would say, probably. But of all time, probably top 5.
If I can be so bold before we start talking about Boy Meets World, I want to see if I can do this. Boy Meets World, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Correct.
Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I put Downton
in your top 5. Then this is where it's gonna get dicey. Seinfeld. Yeah. Seinfeld. Yeah, good. And then see, it blends between like what you grew up watching. Let's say like I wouldn't put Leave It to Beaver, not Leave It to Beaver.
The Andy Griffith
Andy Griffith Show in your top 5.
Oh, I do love it though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily put it in your top 5. And like I wouldn't put That's So Raven in your top 5.
No.
But maybe Smart Guy
in your... not in my top 5.
It's not.
This Is Us.
This is
in
Us.
My top 5.
This Is Us.
I
was gonna say Poldark.
That's very good. I wouldn't even put Poldark in top 5.
No. Okay.
What did we say, like 4? That was like 4.
No, that was 5.
That was 5?
Yeah. Boy Meets World, Downton Abbey, Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Seinfeld,
and the one you just said.
This Is Us. I already forgot. What did I just say? I don't know.
Yeah, the one you just said. Yeah, it's a good smattering. It's a good smattering of shows.
Yeah, all different things, and I have a very diverse TV
watching experience,
cornucopia of genres that I enjoy.
Yeah. So anyway, that being said, we're here to talk about Boy Meets World, but only until you move that microphone a little bit closer to your mouth.
Okay, I'm struggling with this snack tray. My legs are trapped.
You have the dog behind you too, just so you know.
Watch out!
Now she's on the side of you.
Vinny, are you on the podcast?
Yes, she is now.
Yes, I am on
Anyway, so my wife does the voice of the dog on an everyday basis, and which has then caused me to start doing the voice of the dog. And then when we talk to strangers or people we know, we can't help but doing the voice of the dog. It's very embarrassing.
She's part of our conversations. Like, she's pretty funny.
She's more like a therapy puppet where we say things through the dog to, like, you know, vent some frustration or to try a joke that might not be funny in the real world, but it's funny if the dog says it. There was one time where, actually many times, where you have turned to the dog and said, "Oh, Ziddy, you're so funny." And I'm like, me, I'm funny. I'm the one saying the things through her voice. Anyway, we're here to talk about Boy Meets World, which is just as absurd as that conversation that we just had.
It is.
So you didn't watch Boy Meets World when you were, when it was airing, right?
No, because I was born in 93, and that was when the first season came out. So I watched reruns when they were being aired on Disney ages later, and I feel like I always watched it out of order, which is kind of fun because it is a show that you don't have to watch every single episode. Like This Is Us, if you skip an episode, you're like, what the heck is happening? I don't know, because they feed you important pieces of information. There's only a handful of episodes where something really big happened, like Corey and Topanga getting married. Like, if you missed that episode, then you've kind of missed like an important piece of the story. But yeah, you could just kind of jump into it. That's why I like it, because you could just jump in for 25 minutes, laugh, and it's a self-contained little nugget of comedy.
It's not always self-contained though, right? There are actually, like, there are bits and points where you, like, should know certain things, like the trailer park episodes or whatever.
Like Sean's parents splitting up, or even Topanga's parents splitting up, and like her having to move back with her aunt and stuff. So that's like, those are like big plot points. But other than that, I mean, you can just kind of hop in.
When you were a kid, because we were listening to Pod Meets World, right, where they're going back and, every episode, and Sean, she maybe used their real names, Ryder Strong, Will Friedle, and
Danielle Fishel.
Thank you. I was going to call her Topanga Lawrence.
Topanga Lawrence.
Are going back and watching every episode, and they're talking about, like, watching, or like as a kid, kids watch and they're like, oh, what is Corey up to? What is Sean up to? Eric, whatever. And then as an adult, you're like, wow, look at those parents.
What great parenting
styles.
Like, I'm impressed by these parents. They're good role models.
And when we watched Boy Meets World a couple of years ago, we did the same thing. Remember? Like, we were like, because, you watch for the main leads, and then all of a sudden you're an adult and you're a parent, whatever, and you're like, wow, how are Mr. and Mrs. Matthews parenting? Like, what is their style, and how are they taking control of this weird situation? And that's what I find fascinating about, like, going back and rewatching it, where, like, I'm still interested in what the kids are up to, because it's absurd, but, like, I'm really interested in how the adults are weirdly, like, they're not absurd a lot of the time. Like, the story, especially in that the first season, like, everything that Corey is doing is weird, but the way that his parents handle it is pretty normal.
Yeah, they're never absurd, and I feel like the show does a good job of making you feel like they're real parents. They're real people, average, regular American family. They don't live in a fancy, apartment that looks like a set that nobody would ever live in, or like, that doesn't look like my house. Like, their house looks like a house. They have like real snacks that people would eat. Like, it just feels. I mean, I think listening to their podcast, go and listen to Pod Meets World. They'll go deep dive, but like, that's what they talked about. Is the showrunners were like, we have to make sure that this is very like believable, like relatable as well, which I like. But I feel like even though the kids, like, what they're doing is absurd because it's a sitcom, but it's actually a really wholesome show too. Like, you come away from it feeling good and feeling like you like watched people treat each other well, and there's a moral to the story for every episode, even if it's a silly episode, which I appreciate as like appropriate TV for my kid to watch. And they tackle a lot of different topics, from like alcoholism to drugs. I don't know if they ever do drugs. I don't know if
I feel like they do in the college years.
Is somebody smoking? Maybe not smoking like weed, but maybe somebody smoking tobacco.
Yeah, but I can't remember.
But there's definitely drinking issues with drinking, and even like
there's issues with sex and
they're like thinking they're going to hook up on prom night, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't, and wait until we're adults. And it's like, good, I agree with that advice to give my child. Like, this still stands, which is good.
Yeah. Do you are you attached to a particular character or were you attached to a particular character as a kid? Let me ask you that first.
No, I don't really think I was. I always thought Eric was funny, and Feeney. I love Feeney.
Yeah, see, I love Feeney even when I was a kid too. and Eric was always, I think, their dynamic wins. But when I was a kid, I liked the college years the most.
Me too.
Because of the absurdity and maybe because obviously I hadn't gone to college at that point, and so like you just don't know what college is like.
College is like.
Yeah, it's like
college is not like that.
It's like watching Friends as a kid, and you're like, yeah, you know, all these like 20 to 30-year-olds who have these nice apartments who always hang out and like never go to their jobs. That's what adulting is like, right?
Yep.
And you're like, no. What do you mean, see my friends?
Yeah, it's like, okay, let me pull out my calendar and look at my next 3 months.
Yeah,
and see if
that's
I can
the
see
sitcom
you.
I would like to watch, where it's just friends trying to get together.
I'll send a doodle poll.
Yeah, that's the Friends reunion. That's how come they never cracked it. They didn't know how to do one, like just like an episode. Instead, they got together for an interview thing.
Yeah,
but like
their schedules didn't align.
Yeah, because their schedules didn't align because they're actually adults and they have lives and families, and instead of just hanging out with their friends every night.
Do you have a favorite like moment from the college years? Like, what would you rate as like some of the funniest, or just overall in the series, some of the funniest stuff that they did?
College years, I don't know. There's a general vibe about the college years that I really like. I mean, Plays with Squirrels is probably the best in the college years. I think that's really hard to top. Fat Eric in itself is really hard to top. Like that's like a very funny time for him. Not for Will Friedle, probably, because he was struggling with body issues and, you know, body image issues and things like that. But I think that he works it really well on the show without it just being about fat jokes, or, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, yeah. There's like some almost like self-love stuff in there. But it's funny because like, you know, the show a lot better than I do. Like you don't have to rewatch each episode to listen to the podcast, whereas like I do need to watch a lot of episodes because they really start to run together. There's
a lot in the middle that I forget, like the middle school, early high school year. There's like a weird gap. Like I remember the first season really well, but seasons 2, 3, and 4, I'm like,
I remember the first season really well because when we rewatched it, the 6th grade or whatever happens, and then all of a sudden like it becomes a slightly different show in the second season with the inclusion of Mr. Turner, whom I also really liked when I was a kid.
I like Mr. Turner.
Yeah, I think I maybe always kind of globbed onto the adults even as a kid, which, if you know me, kind of tracks.
Yeah, we were like, glommed onto the English teacher?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
on brand.
Yeah, the history teacher and the English teacher. Yeah,
brand.
but I like if you knew me when I was a kid, like I wasn't really interested in what my peers were up to and what they did. I was always like I was above them or anything like that. I was just interested in different things, and I had
people stuff.
I was interested in old people stuff, right? And now that I am an old person, I am interested in my age group's stuff.
Well, you're not that
but
old.
then also weirdly in child stuff all at the same time.
We're sitting in his office and there's He-Man toys on the shelf.
There's He-Man toys behind me, but there's also like an entire row of presidential biographies because when you turn a certain age, you have to really be into either
I'm looking at the last line.
Smoking meats
Winston
and
Churchill.
in World War II and, you know, the glory days of your youth, which I didn't have, so I don't care about. You know, and everyone's got something they glob onto, and mine's kind of history, but also other stuff that I liked as a kid. It's like a healthy mix. You
have a youthful bounce.
Yeah, no, that's just because I'm fat. The bounces is
so you
youthful.
have a youthful
my belly swings like a bowl full of jelly. Going back to Boy Meets World, Feeney got mean. Do you remember that?
Yeah, when he was the principal, because he had to like assert his authority as the principal, but you're just like, why is Feeney being so mean? But like as you watch it as an adult, you're like, well, of course he has to act like that because he's the principal. He can't just be like wishy-washy.
Of course you can bring guns to school, children. Like, it is fun to watch that where they just have they have water guns in school.
I know, yeah.
You're like, oh gosh, never. Even in sitcom land, you wouldn't get that now. Never mind, the real world. So the show is inconsistent though, right? Like, Sean's got siblings and then he doesn't have siblings.
Yep.
Like, he's got a mom, but then she's not
No, he's
there.
always had the mom and then she takes off.
Right. That's always been a thing?
Yes. He always had a mother and then she just like left and disappeared.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we ever, I think we did, she does show up at one point. So you do see her, like, and she interacts with the characters. But yeah, he has a sister in like the first couple of episodes. You never hear her again. And then Morgan disappears for a while. But then we found out through the podcast that was because the little girl who played Morgan did not want to continue being a child actress, which is like perfectly fine. But they were just like, you know what? No, we're just, instead of replacing her, they just decided to cut her out. And they were like, actually, we're going to bring her back in.
Yeah, because they just used her slot for somebody else because you can only have so many leads.
I mean, yeah,
because they can only budget for so much, and so they moved her out. And I would assume that was actually Topanga. Like, I would assume that was the official that kind of like took a bit of that slot.
Maybe, yeah. And they added in
because Minkus was
Turner.
Also out, and
Minkus they took out.
Mr. Turner was out,
Yeah.
but Miss Turner was in and Minka was out.
Yeah. But then they added in like Harley Kiner and Joey the Rat Epstein.
Yeah, that's right. And Frankie.
Frankie. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that trio
Mm-hmm.
because I'll go for anything that is like slightly Guido, like, hey, yo, you know, like, and I think it's hysterical because they're in like Philadelphia. They're not in New York or Boston or anywhere, but there's like a high concentration of Italian Americans. Like Frankie Stacchino is living in Philadelphia. Like, I don't know. It's just so funny, but I always like laughed so hard at those. Like,
Filthy, foggy, soggy Philadelphia.
Because he would just be like, alone I walk. I am alone in the world, except for the grilled cheese sandwich in my pocket. Like, there's some good one-liners. And you're like, it just sticks in your brain, and I appreciate them. The humor is my type of humor. Like, silly.
They don't take advantage of being in Philly, like, at all.
No, they just talk about the Phillies.
Yeah, they talk about the Phillies, and it's John Adams High, but that's really more of a reference to William Daniels, who played Mr. Feeney, played John Adams in 1776. So it's really more of a, I think, a reference to that than John Adams being in Philadelphia for, you know, the birth of the country.
I think at one point somebody's wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jacket.
Ooh,
maybe Morgan. I think Morgan might wear the Eagles jacket at some point, but that's it. They don't show any like B-roll shots of Philadelphia, nothing. So
yeah, which is kind of strange, but at the same time, like, it's anywhere USA. Like, they say it's Philly, but it could very well be Boston or Providence or
it's just they live in the suburbs.
Tallahassee or what. It doesn't, or, you know, Denver. It doesn't really matter. So you said as a kid it was Eric and Feeney. Those were your two. As an adult, has that changed?
Yeah, I think it's still Eric and Feeney. I've come to appreciate Corey more. I feel like his just Ben Savage's acting, especially into the college years, because he turned into this like
manic
old man
yeah
character. It was just so funny.
They want you to take the roles.
You'll be sorry for this, home wrecker. It's like underpants. It's so good. Oh, it's so funny. I don't know where like that came from. If he just decided to embody that, or
maybe. Well, I mean, like, I think a part of it is like the influence that Topanga would have had on him as like in their relationship, and you know, people change because like he would get nervous as a kid, but he's really more of like a Dennis the Menace character. Yeah. Like he's a trickster, and then it like evolves into him being afraid to be tricked, which is, you know, it's like the it's like the John Mulaney. It's like the John Mulaney joke where he was like, I snorted cocaine the night before my graduation in college, and now I'm afraid to get a flu shot. People change. Like, you know, like that's like that, or what? Like that's. I think that's Corey kind of in a nutshell. Where like he outgrows his middle schoolness, and like he grows into.
But then he turns into like, it's so. I love when he's like, I have a mediocre life, and Sean goes, you don't have a mediocre life, and they just cut to Corey standing, leaning on his bedroom wall with a framed poster of celery. Which I would like assume that came from the grocery store when Alan was the manager. I don't know, like, how does he have a celery?
I don't think it matters. I don't think that matters. By that point in the show, none of that matters.
It just happens. Like,
it just is what it is. I think Alan is a character that I have grown to appreciate as an adult because like obviously he was a good dad when I was a little kid, but I grew up with a great dad, and so like it wasn't like I needed him to like fill that role or anything like that. But I like appreciate his style of parenting and what he's doing and like how he interacts with his kids, and even just his acting is like really,
it's so
really genuine and natural. And it's like in both him and Amy Matthews, I think I really appreciate the parents. But it's always, I think, Eric and Feeney. I've also grown to appreciate Corey. Sean still gets on my nerves. I think that's like
as a character, not Ryder Strong.
No,
Ryder Strong plays it great.
He's very good.
He's great.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the Sean character. Just annoys me half the time. Like, I don't find him as funny. I don't know why. Like, I don't think they gave him the funny stuff. They were like, you're going to be the dramatic character.
Yes, that's
who
right.
has family problems and like, angsty.
Which is funny because Ryder Strong wanted to be a comedian, right? And he like realized he was good at dramatic acting.
Yeah, I don't think he really even wanted to be there in the first place. It was just kind of funny, but
and neither really did Sean. So it kind of worked.
Topanga is really funny. I think they made her funnier as she went on.
Yeah,
like she has some in the college years, I feel like she has
she's
the
very-
most funny moments.
She's
of her
very
whole time.
she's type A. I think they kind of went to start modeling on Danielle Fishel because like Danielle Fishel talks about her being like her
Very
herself
type A,
being type
yeah.
A, and then and Topanga definitely is, and that's what I think wrangles Corey in and whatever else, and so
Yeah. Because at one point they're going to have like a party after they get married. They're trying to have a house party at their apartment, and she's like wearing a nice blouse. He's like, "What are you going to the PTA meeting?" You know, because she looks like she's going to the PTA meeting, like instead of just wearing regular clothes that presumably a 20-year-old would be wearing, because they're in college. So I'm assuming that they're like 20. But she has some good moments, like when Feeney gives her a B on a paper in college. Which, by the way, there's a great moment when Corey's like they're looking at wedding venues and they're following around. They're just like watching the wedding.
Yeah.
Like the wedding coordinator says, "Oh, you could just watch to see what's going on." And the father of the bride comes over and he's talking to him and he's like, "Oh, he's a kindergarten teacher." Again, like some guy from Rhode Island, presumably lives in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And so Corey's like, "Mr. Feeney was my kindergarten teacher. In fact, he's been my teacher every year from the rest of my life." Like, he like follows them to college. So anyways, Topanga gets a B on the paper in college. She goes, "A B? A B?" Like, Feeney, you fix this right now. And he's like, "Oh, I have to leave." And he like runs out of the room. And then you see them like they're like still talking in the classroom and they're in the outside and they run by the windows. She's like, Feeney, you come back here." It's like,
That is a good one. Yeah.
it's so good. And like,
Well, I want to know why they're all taking his history classes in college.
I have no idea. They have no majors. You have no idea. You
Nope.
presume that Topanga's some sort of poli-sci because she's going to law school.
Yep.
Something
Although
like that.
she could have been a history major.
I don't know, but
Yep.
they're all taking the same class.
Yeah, but Corey
same
becomes
class.
a history teacher
True.
in Girl Meets World.
Yeah, but what the heck are Eric? Why is Eric in the class with Is he in any of the classes with
Yeah,
them?
I think he's in a class with them at
Because Rachel...
some point. Oh, so
and-
before you talk about Rachel, hold on. To go backwards. Well, Sean was an English major. I think he's a lit major. So
Because he likes poetry.
right. So he would have. I think that he would have some openings then for history. History electives, whatever. So anyway,
This is not important. They just needed the characters to be in the same room at the same time.
I know. But I wonder about those things. It's like the
Yeah.
Hogwarts schedule. How does it work?
What are the rotations?
What
When
are the
is lunch?
rotations? When is lunch? How does this work? How many classes does each professor actually have? Like, these are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah, because they're teaching presumably 7 years
Of that, so yeah,
So
well,
7 grades.
Maybe not the 7 years, but because you don't take potions all 7 years if you don't want to,
True,
or whatever.
unless you're in AP potions. But
Right,
like,
yeah, but then like you still have a class of it, but you teach like 2 sections per year, like it's
because they're like we have it
Hufflepuffs
with
and
the
the Gryffindors
Hufflepuffs.
and the
Yeah,
Ravenclaws
it's
and the
like not all
Slytherins.
4
Yeah.
houses are together.
Right, and that's 1 year, 2 years. Like that's a lot of classes.
Yep.
So like, when do they actually have time to like? I can understand why so many of them are like, today we're learning this spell because that's freaking all the time
We
in the
have
world
time.
that they
We only
have
have
to lesson
25
plan.
minutes.
Yeah, like they don't have time for anything else. Double potions is just 60 minutes, like or
Yeah.
whatever. But Boy Meets World. We talked a lot about the characters have been around for a while, but what about the new characters from like they started adding in like Topanga or Angela, not Topanga,
Rachel,
Angela or
Angela. Because
Rachel.
Angela showed up in high school. I like Angela. I always thought she was pretty funny. And Rachel is pretty funny too, but she could kind of get like annoying.
Yeah, I found that even as a kid that I liked Angela a lot. Always, she was always like really level-headed about stuff.
Yeah.
And because Sean was not, and then but I I didn't care for Rachel. I thought they what's the other roommate's name? The Lawrence brother.
Oh my gosh.
Matthew Lawrence.
Matthew Lawrence is what is wrong with me? Jack.
Jack. Yeah. Jack. Yeah, they always fight over her and whatever, and that feels that feels like, I guess, like objectification now. Yeah, a little bit. Like some of the stuff in the show, like a lot of the show ages really well. Some of it does not. Some of it does not age. I think like the stuff with Rachel is not great.
Yeah, no, because they're just like vying for her attention, and like it's just kind of silly. But the food fight scene is great.
That is
when they have the
that's
food
very
fight.
good. Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah.
Don't hold back because I'm a woman. Yeah, now hit Jack with the pie. No, that was so good. Like they hit him mid scream.
Yeah.
Like it goes into his face.
That is
so
a very good one. Very good.
The one where Eric's hiding in the couch.
That's
so good.
Yeah.
But is that the one where he's after Topanga? He's trying to get back at Topanga because they have like a steel cage match in the apartment to like kick the boys out, and the girls beat up Eric and
That's
Jack.
right.
So he's trying to seek revenge. So he's like hiding in the counter at like the coffee shop in the student union. He's hiding in the American Gothic painting. He's just trying all different things, and then he ends up.
I forgot about the American Gothic. Painting. That one's really good.
But he ends up in the couch cushion, and they couldn't finish the scene because it was too ridiculous. They all kept laughing.
Is there an episode that like grinds your gears, or like not grinds your gears, but you know, like so many of them are like, oh, what a great episode. That was so fun. I feel better about life. Is there an episode that you think back and you're like, that one gets me like every time?
Oh, the ones that they did where they're like, we're going back to the 50s. We're going back to World War II. I'm like, I don't really care.
Okay, so that's a different. So not a like I don't care, but ones that like get you like heavily emotionally invested.
Oh, like where I'm like, I gotta know what happens.
Yeah, or like you're just like, what are you doing, Topanga? Like, what is like the, you know, like I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. Like those types of episodes. Is there one that like sticks out to you more than others? Because I'll answer, because like to me, the one where Corey cheats on Topanga, the ski trip.
Oh yeah,
like,
where he doesn't actually really cheat on her. He's just talking to a girl. She kisses him, and then she writes him an elaborate letter that he's gonna like shred up and not keep forever. And then Topanga's like, no, and then, yeah, that one annoys me.
Yeah, it doesn't annoy me. It like annoys me, but like I like love it for like its melodrama all at the same time. I just like that episode. I don't know what it is, just because I think you can see the misunderstanding happening everywhere, and the show didn't do that a lot, so it feels important in the show's canon.
Yeah, I like the wedding episodes. I'm always invested in those because there's just so many. The one like the lead up to the wedding, there's two. They're killing us part 1 and they're killing us part 2, because they're explaining like all the things that people are having gone through a wedding and planning a wedding, not as presumably elaborate as theirs. I don't know, because they were like, we have a theme, we have this, we have that, but like going through planning a wedding, everybody's got their own opinion. But like in their wedding, everybody's got an opinion about all the weird things. Like Alan's like, I'm gonna get out of this for like $50 because George and his jazz group are playing for free, and Feeney comes in with his trumpet.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You see like all the people like that they have lined up, like, here's are the people that I lined up with your, you know, budget, and there's Corey goes, cruise business a little slow, boys. Yeah. There's like that one, and that one I'm always invested in, like the next part and the next part and the next part, because they build it up to Eric proposing to Topanga because reasons.
I forgot about that.
He has like a smoking jacket and a cape.
Okay, so I have two final questions to wrap up. One, the theory. Do you subscribe to the theory that the show, because the show is through Corey's perspective, characters change and the tone of the show changes because Corey is growing up, and so like Eric starts as like the cool like ish type guy that then becomes stupider and sillier because Corey is no longer idolizing his older brother, and so you see that progression. Is that something that you subscribe to?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but if that's not what they're doing, that's fine too. Like, I don't really care either way.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the final question I have, I like that one, by the way. I should probably answer it myself.
It makes sense. So I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not what they were doing, but I like that, like, because it's like it adds just a nice texture to the show.
I feel like they just let Will Friedle have a little more freedom, and he developed the character. So then that's
because it wasn't
what really happened.
Yeah, so he wasn't just average older brother.
Girls, cars, cool.
Exactly. So final question: is Mr. Feeney their backyard neighbor or their side neighbor?
It's the side. It's totally the side, because there's an extension of their backyard. You see trees in the back. They're having like a major debate over this in the Pod Meets World podcast, but I totally think it's the side, because you can have a side garden.
Yep.
Because their driveway is right there. Because there's a point where like Corey's like, "Bye, Morgan," and he like pushes her, and like they're like in the little car, and she goes rolling away. I think that's like goes into their driveway and the garage are like over there, and there must be like a little pathway that goes up, or maybe they are backyard neighbors. I don't know. The way that our house is set up in like this weird like baseball diamond setup where we have like 4 side/backyard neighbors is like, so maybe it's like that. Maybe it's not exactly the way. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
No, I just think like if
it is
their backyard, Feeney's yard is so small.
Small, yeah. He's got a garden.
Right.
It's like 2 window boxes.
Yeah, that's the thing that always gets me, because like if you watch Home Improvement, like Wilson is their side yard neighbor.
Yeah.
Like, because like the front of the house is over there and they go out the side door to get to the side yard, which is very sitcom-y, I think. Like, because you can't go from the front to the back because then you'd be in the audience. So you always go to the side to get presumably to the side yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you assume that you're like watching front to back, right? You know, like, because that's where the wall disappears. But at the same time, their front door in Boy Meets World is to the side in the living room. It's to the left side. And so if you like re-angle the house and you're going from front to back, you walk into the living room and straight back into the kitchen and straight out to the backyard.
So that would be the back, wouldn't it? But why is Feeney in the... It doesn't matter. I don't know. All I know is that Feeney has a tiny greenhouse, and I'm like, that's cute.
He does, which he never uses because he's always doing something in the side yard.
Yep.
Well,
Mr. Feeney, I can just
maybe
where can
he
I
has
move this bag of fertilizer?
Maybe
for
he has
you?
a tiny yard because he's got a greenhouse. Maybe
The
that's
greenhouse is like the size of a bookshelf, though. It's so tiny.
what. Oh, I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not a greenhouse. It's more of like a green stand.
Yeah, then I have no idea. Anyway, any final thoughts on Boy Meets World?
It's a great nostalgia dive. Wonderful to be like, wow, 90s clothes. Did we actually wear stuff like that?
We did not.
No,
Nope.
I didn't. I mean, I wore some baggy items and overalls, but
It's like watching stuff from the 80s where they're like, look at this weird hat and this and this. A lot of people just dressed kind of normally, maybe like oversized clothes for sure in the 90s, but like 80s was colorful and vibrant in this. And like a lot of the 80s to me was like cigarette trays and wood paneling and those weirdly
shoulder
yellow, like yellowed glasses. And that's the 80s.
Yellowed glass.
You know what
everything looked dirty.
Everything looks dirty in the 80s, right? But like the not in television land. But anyway, thanks for coming on to Beer with Geeks.
Thanks for letting me back on the podcast.
You're very welcome. You can find all other Beer with Geeks episodes at beerwithgeeks.com and thoughtbubbleaudio.com to check out all the Thought Bubble audio shows, rate and review us on iTunes, and find us all other places that podcasts can be found, including Spotify and Overcast. And if you'd like to support all Thought Bubble audio shows, you can head over to thoughtbubbleaudio.com. No, well, you can head over there, but you can head over to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. I was so close. I kind of drifted off. I was staring at the...
You had a lot of, like, you could check us out here,
anywhere. Like, keep your arms and legs inside the carpet, and here we go. But anyway, Mary, thanks for coming on. You're welcome back at any time, as you know.
Thank you. I live here, so it's an easy commute.
Yeah, if you could leave my office now, that would be awesome.
Okay.
I have to cuddle with the dog. She seems lonely.
Zinni! Got to be on her blankie. I have to move her blankie for her.
Yeah, you sure do.
She's not spoiled.
Nope, not at all. So until next time,
cheers!